All right, so now we are on to chapter 2, self-realization. Now, this is the first bit of teaching that Krishna gives to Arjun. Okay, so let's cover some of the main points that I thought to highlight. So let me make this smaller. So the first point that I thought was one of the most important things, and it really puts everything, all of our difficulties and struggles of life into perspective. Krishna tells Arjun, the impermanent has no reality. Your real nature is eternal and unborn. The self is beyond all change. You do not die when the body dies. It's crazy that he's like leading with this, right? Because you would think that he would maybe give him something simpler or something of more beginner nature. But he goes straight for the big stuff. Like he tells, because this is what really puts all of our problems into perspective. He tells Arjun right away, he's like, this despair and weakness in a time of crisis are unworthy of you. Like, stop lamenting, don't grieve. You, that's not how to face your challenges in life. So he tells Arjun, the wise neither grieve for the living nor the dead, right? Because Arjun is really distraught because he's going to have to slay and kill his own, like the people that he grew up with. And he thinks like, what's the point in that? Because even if I win, I lose. So Krishna tells him, hey, the wise neither grieve for the living nor the dead. He says, there has never been a time when you and I, nor and the kings gathered here have not existed, nor will there be a time when we will cease to exist. So despite all the killing and despite all whatever you may do in this life, the people and yourself, who everybody has, there's never been a time that you have not existed, and there will never be a time where you will cease to exist. You are eternal, you are unborn, and whatever is impermanent, such as like the life that you are living, it actually has no reality. He says these fleetings, these experiences are fleeting, they come and go. Bear them patiently. So this is one of the first big teachings of the Gita. Those who are unaffected by these impermanent changes, who are the same in pleasure and pain, are truly wise and fit for immortality. Assert your strength and realize this. So if we wish to understand our eternal and unborn nature, we have to bear the impermanent patiently. We have to be alike in heat and cold, pleasure and pain. Only then do we start to become clear on our real nature. Otherwise, we just remain attached to unreality, to our delusions, to appearance. So he says, realize that which pervades the universe and is indestructible. No power can affect this unchanging, imperishable reality. One believes he is the slayer, another believes he is the slain. Both are ignorant. There is neither slayer or nor slain. You were never born, you will never die. So there's a teaching directly pointing to your fault at believing that you are the person that is playing whatever role you are playing. You may be the victim or you may be the perpetrator, but that is simply the role that is being played. That is not your real self. Krishna tells Arjuna, stop grieving. Realize that you are not what is appearing to happen in experience. Play your role, but don't take yourself to be that. Your real nature is unborn, eternal. You see, unborn, eternal, immutable, immemorial. You do not die when the body dies. He says, the self cannot be pierced by weapons or burned by fire. Water cannot wet it, nor can the wind dry it. The beautiful part about this whole story being on a battlefield is that this is probably the worst of human condition, right? Like a battle is like the biggest problem you can have as a person. So there's no room for you to say that your problems are greater than Arjun's, you know? That is beautifully written in that way, that a battle, a war is probably the most brutal problem that we can face. We're looking death right in the face. And actually we're even looking at, like, Arjun is faced with the reality that he's going to have to take someone's life. You know, he's even more distraught than that, than his own life being taken away. So that's why the teaching that applies in the battlefield definitely applies in our little life, you know, that especially nowadays, you know, most of us have great comforts, but we are still miserable, equally miserable as Arjun. So he says the self cannot be pierced by weapons or burned by fire. It is everlasting and infinite, standing on the motionless foundations of eternity. The self is unmanifested, beyond all thought, beyond all change. Knowing this, you should not grieve. So basically, that's why Krishna leads with this teaching. Once we start to have the knowledge that, hey, there's something beyond all this, and once we, you know, so the faith is a big part of spirituality. Of course, right now, maybe right away, we don't understand that we are unborn and eternal. We still feel like the body. But hearing the word of God in this way, hearing the word of our teacher who is sharing the truth with us, we can have that conviction within ourselves that I can go through this life with that understanding that I am not just this life. I am beyond that which I can currently understand and perceive. My real nature, as my teacher, my guru, my uh, the scripture that I really have faith in, my real nature, as they say, is unborn eternal. So having that conviction, deal with all the problems of life with that perspective, rather than, because when we believe we're so immersed in the role that we are playing, then our problems go out of proportion, and the weight of that we cannot bear. It totally crushes us. But when we keep in mind that our real nature is beyond all this, our real nature is beyond all gain and loss, beyond even birth and death, which seems like the greatest gain and loss, then we can have a evenness of mind throughout all the challenges of life. So let's move on to the next point. So Krishna says, right, that which dwells in the mortal body as the self is the unborn eternal reality. He is the self of all. So I will also link a meditation that we did on this exact point, that that which dwells in the mortal body is immortal, eternal. So I'm going to link that meditation that we did here in Self Inquiry School underneath this lesson. So you can also take a look at that. That was a beautiful meditation to help you realize your nature as that. So we should see that, like, that which dwells in this body as I is that eternal principle. You see, that's why it never changes. So that eternal principle, which is beyond birth and death, it dwells in the body as I. It dwells in experience as the feeling now, which is always the same. All these experiences keep coming and going. The body keeps aging. The mind keeps changing. The personality keeps changing. So, right, who you are as a person keeps changing, and everything about your experience keeps changing. But the eternal principle is present in all of this change as I, as the feeling of self. So he says that the eternal reality is the self in all beings. I may call you by many names, right? You know, to me, maybe you're a friend. To someone else, you're a father or mother or a sister or brother. You may be a doctor or lawyer. So all other people have many names for you, but and you know we may call you by many names. Like you may have nicknames with different people. People call you by different many names, but you always refer to yourself as I. This is the same for all of us. We all have different names, jobs, backgrounds. Everything about who we are as people is different, other than this one fact that we all refer to ourselves as I. So, what is that I? You see, that's the essence of self inquiry. It's the essence of all spirituality. Who am I? So, our real nature is that unborn eternal reality, which shines in our experience as the self, as self, me. Okay. So, that self, which dwells in the mortal body, in this impermanent experience, is eternal, immortal. Nothing in the realm of experience affects you. So, nothing changes I. Nothing changes now. All changes happen in it, but nothing affects it. So seek refuge in the attitude of detachment, free from attachment and aversion, be unaffected by pain and pleasure, alike in profit or loss, victory or defeat, in good fortune or bad. This is a theme that will keep coming up again and again and again in the Gita throughout all chapters. It is one of the main instructions, this attitude of non attachment, starting to observe our mind, which is always attaching and fearing and resisting, and start to go beyond that. Krishna says that the wise live in this way and then realize their true self. We cannot be in the midst of attachment and resistance and realize our true self. Attachment and resistance is ego, it is illusion. So the theme of dharma is also going to come up. And we'll talk about that more in later chapters. But here, Krishna tells Arjuna, considering your dharma, and Arjun's dharma is, the warrior life. He says you should not vacillate between, what you should do and what you should not do. For a warrior, nothing is higher than a war against evil. So take part in this war. Don't go against your dharma. So this is the theme that will also come up in the Gita. Again and again, Krishna will say how important it is to live out your dharma. Whatever your like theme is in this life, you have to live that out. Later in the chapters, he says to succeed in another person's dharma is worse than failing in your own dharma. So competing and succeeding in another person's dharma, like living a life that's not your calling, your natural theme, what your place in this life is. That's what dharma really is. It's like your place in the whole puzzle of the universe, where you belong, what you are like meant to, I don't want to say meant to do in this life, but in a way, that's like the role that you have been given in this life. We all have the responsibility to look within ourselves and start to discover, hey, what is my theme in this life? And it doesn't have to be anything crazy. It's not like you have to do so much and achieve so much. It's not about achievement. It could be as simple as, being um, like a great mother to your children, and a great parent, a great, whatever your theme is. And only you can know that. But it is going to always be something which feels most natural and true to you, which has always called to you, which you feel most resonant with. It's like a role that you're playing that like you feel like you are meant to play that role. So he says, considering your dharma, like you should not vacillate. Always live your dharma. And as you live your dharma and all the challenges you come across, you have to you have to seek refuge in the attitude of detachment, free from attachment and aversion. Be unaffected by pain and pleasure. Through all the ups and downs of life, keep an evenness of mind. Don't be so affected by good fortune or bad, neither attached to good fortune or bad. See, having made yourself alike in pain and pleasure, profit and loss, victory and defeat, engage in this great battle and you will be freed from sin. You see, so you'll be freed from delusion, misunderstanding, suffering, misery. By practicing this, you will break through the bonds of karma. So the mental impressions which keep the consciousness bound, that will start to dissolve when we live in this way, in the attitude of detachment. And Krishna says, even a little effort towards spiritual awareness will protect you from the greatest fear. Those who follow this path, resolving deep within themselves to seek me alone, attain singleness of purpose. For those who lack resolution, the decisions of life are many branched and endless. So let me see if that's our next point. Yeah. Attain singleness of purpose. Seek the self as the highest goal of life. Follow the path of yoga. Yoga is the spiritual path. Okay. So in this book, we're going to cover many paths of yoga: path of knowledge, path of selfless action, path of meditation, so on, path of devotion. All these are paths of yoga. Yoga means union, union with the creator, union with your source. So that has to be the main goal of our life. So that's what Krishna tells Arjun. Like the goal of your life shouldn't be profit and gain. It should be God, self-realization. Attain this singleness of purpose, and then you'll be able to, through it, deal with all life's challenges in a whole new way. Then you will know what to do and how to do it. But he says, those who lack resolution, who are not devoted to the truth, the decisions of life are many branched and endless, and they are totally lost in delusion, confusion, misery, scattered. And he says that those types of people who are not like they are not devoted to truth, they do not have that singleness of purpose. They are just lost. Their hearts are full of selfish desires. And their idea of heaven is their own enjoyment. And the aim of all their activities is pleasure and power. Notice that within yourself. To what degree is the reason for everything you do just pleasure and power and selfish desire? So the thing about the spiritual path is that you will notice these tendencies within yourself, and that's not a thing to feel guilty about. You have, by noticing them, you have to uproot them. Trust me, I notice these things within myself all the time. The desire for pleasure, more riches, more abundance, this, that, all centered around me, me, me. And so only by becoming aware of it do you get to let go of it and attain the singleness of purpose. So, over here on my page, when I like read this, I started to really see that, like how he's saying that we have to attain the singleness of purpose. Otherwise, there's no happiness in life and we're just totally lost. So at that time, I remember, I felt that, hey, I was still divided. And to a certain degree, I still sometimes am divided, Sometimes the mental impressions of greed and this and that, they do arise. And I notice that within myself. That's nothing to feel bad about or like something, oh, I need more progress. No, don't wait, like through observation, start to once again strengthen your resolve. Like, God, all I want is you. All I want is truth. So over here, I have written on my page, like, God, help me attain that resolve. So sometimes you even notice that weakness within yourself that you just want sensual pleasure and this and that. So you like plead, um, God or reality or truth, like, show me the way, give me strength, help me attain that singleness of purpose. And I felt that when we pray in this way, God gives it to us. So he says here, those whose minds are swept away by the pleasure of by the pursuit of pleasure and power are incapable of following the supreme goal and will not attain it. So sometimes when we feel like spiritual progress isn't happening, strengthen your resolve. You want too many things. You're too scattered. You really want only pain. I mean, pleasure and profit. Notice that within yourself and strengthen your resolve. So just a few more things. So he says we should live life without any sense of duality or the desire to acquire and hoard. Without the desire to acquire and hoard. So just not just living life for the sake of gain, personal gain. Krishna says you have the right to work, but never to the fruits of work. This is another theme that we will explore a lot in the chapters to come. You should never engage in action for the sake of reward, nor should you long for inaction. So don't not act. Spirituality is not about letting go of action. It is about purifying yourself, purifying the mind through acting without attachment to the fruits of your labor. He says, perform work in this world, Arjun, as a man established within himself, without selfish attachments, alike in success and defeat. For yoga is perfect evenness of mind. Evenness of mind meaning no attachment or aversion. So he says, when we live in this way, perfect evenness of mind, all vain anxiety is left behind. There is no cause for worry whether things go well or ill. So he says, therefore, devote yourself to the discipline of yoga. The wise unify their consciousness and abandon attachment to the fruits of action, which bind a person to continual rebirth, constant cycle of karma, mental impressions, attachment to experience. He says, attain the state of holy indifference. When your mind has overcome the confusion of duality, right, this constant battle between attachment and aversion, you will attain the state of holy indifference to things. Holy indifference, not like a nihilistic, like, oh, nothing has meaning, I don't care. No, holy indifference, evenness of mind. They live in wisdom who see themselves in all and all in them, who have renounced every selfish desire and sense craving tormenting the heart. Fettered by no more selfish, fettered no more by selfish attachments, they are neither elated by good fortune nor depressed by the bad. Such are the seers. So watch this theme come up again and again in the Gita. Krishna will continue to emphasize that attachment, selfish desire, this constant yearning for personal profit and gain is the greatest blocker of spiritual truth. And again, he will share with us that this does not mean that we do not act in life. We must act in life and live out our destiny, our dharma, do what we are meant to do. And we have to use that action to purify our mind of selfish attachment, of selfish desires, the craving for sensual pleasure. We have to work without being so attached to the fruits of our work. You can have goals, you can have things that you are trying to work towards and achieve. For personal life is an ongoing journey of growth, but you only have right to your work, not to the fruits of your work. So do the work, but surrender your outcome, the result of your work to God entirely. And whatever comes, live through it without attachment and aversion. This is the teaching of Krishna. And he says that like these cravings will disappear when you see the highest goal. Once you really unify and attain that singleness of purpose, that you are living this life for truth, your attachments and your selfish desires and your cravings and your resistances, they all become weaker. So, you know, like pray for that singleness of purpose, see the need of it. When you move amidst the world of sense, free from attachment and aversion alike, there comes the peace in which all sorrows end, and you live in the wisdom of the self. So he says, when you let your mind just follow the call of the senses, When your mind is just constantly seeking sensual pleasure, it carries away your better judgment and you get lost in the storms of misery. So he says, use all your power to free the senses from attachment and aversion alike, and live in the wisdom of the self. Such a sage awakens to the light in the night of all creatures. They are forever free who renounce all selfish desires and break away from the ego cage, I, me, and mine, to be united with the Lord. This is the supreme state. Attain to this and pass from death to immortality. So, this I, me, and mine, and all the activity that goes to simply increasing the value of I, me, and mine, this is the enemy of the wise. This is the blocker of all spiritual truth and wisdom. So we have to live in this world without attachment and aversion. This is what slowly weakens and dissolves this I, me, and mine, which is the cloud blocking the sun of self realization. So beautiful second chapter, first chapter where we actually receive a teaching. I hope you enjoyed that. So you'll see this theme again and again come up in the Gita. That's why I think it's such a beautiful text to live your life by, because of course in self-inquiry school, we cover greatly on the path of meditation and path of knowledge, going within. But like then when, of course, your life personally as well, all the work that you do and everything, it has to also become spiritual, and spiritual life meaning, right? Living in this way, in alignment with the teachings that we will cover here, without selfish attachment, doing the work that we are meant to do, right? Living in the battlefield of life and attaining that singleness of purpose, and thereby putting everything into perspective and acting accordingly. So, this is the path. Okay. Hope you enjoyed this. You can comment down below what you learned today if you wish, or if you wish to share anything. Just know that, again, I will announce that our comment section for the Bhagavad Gita course, it's the same comments for all the lessons. All right. We're not going to have different comment threads for every single lesson. So when you do comment, first start with what chapter you are commenting about so that we know which chapter you're talking about. And then you can say whatever you need to say. All right. Okay. Bye.